will not apologize. For what? For what? We will not apologize. We will not meet the 10-day deadline of the commission or apologize, at least until we are listened to by a neutral body. This is what the EFF has said in response to the Human Rights Commission giving them that 10-day deadline to apologize for statements including the honeymoon is over for white people in South Africa. A revolutionary must become a cold killing machine motivated by pure hate. It's a war between white supremacy and black consciousness. You must know the two will never meet. We are in a permanent war with white supremacists. This is some of the inflammatory language, of course, of the EFF leader, Julius Malema, for which he has been told to apologize. Advocate Bongani Majola is the chairperson of the South African Human Rights Commission and joins us now on the line. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
The EFF has basically said absolutely not. They will not apologize. They will not meet this deadline you've given them. In fact, judging from the statement they have issued, I suppose one might even argue they no longer consider yours a neutral body.
Bongani, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. Our letter to them was not an order that they must obey. We gave them an option before we took the matter to court. You know that court matters are expensive and take a long time, take your time, and so on. In fairness to them, we didn't want just to give them the summons to go to court. We wanted to give them an opportunity to reconsider and, retract, because looking at the jurisprudence, it is very clear that, what they did incites violence, it incites harm, and it propagates hatred. The things you were just reading, is true. We, as the Commission, are mandated to do our work according to the Constitution and the law, and what I've just said is the law, the decisions of our courts, Pepuda, and so on. Now, if they do not want, then they will get the opportunity before a judge, which I assume they still regard as an independent body, and the matter will be argued there, and a decision would be found.
Advocate, it's scary enough.
Can I just add something? I think that we all have to be accountable and to take responsibility for our actions. This thing of people doing things that are against the law and then blaming the prosecutor or whoever is calling them to account must stop.
Advocate, it's chilling enough when I read them, right? When I read them. But I actually want you to hear, I want you to listen, and I want our listeners to understand where this comes from. This was, of course, part of the speeches delivered by the leader of the Red Berets, Julius Malema, at the party's provincial assembly in the Western Cape last month. Have a listen to this again.
What have you done in terms of follow-up after being beaten by that white guy? Why have you not, as a revolutionary organization, followed up on that guy, him alone, to check that guy in an isolated space and attend to the guy properly? You must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act.
So he says he's asking his supporters, this is in the context, of course, of an incident at Brackenfell High School last year, right? In which a white person was filmed beating up an EFF member, or at least there was an altercation between them. He's asking his supporters, A, why they haven't found the guy, why haven't you hunted him down, essentially. He then says, why haven't you found him and then in an isolated space, right? That's important, in an isolated space, right? Dealt with him properly, in inverted commas, right? And then he goes on to talk about how revolutionaries must be prepared to kill, that this is part of a revolutionary act. And your response, Advocate Majola, is to write him a polite letter?
Well, we don't have the authority to chastise people and so on. We've got to act according to the law, and the legal instruments are that we either investigate the case and give him or them our findings, we've decided not to do that. We've decided that it must be the court that does that.
Why not?
So, come again?
Why not? Why have you decided not to investigate what I've just played? Why have you decided not to investigate? Why are you leaving it to the courts?
Exactly because, you see, the strategy that they are adopting is that once you call them to order, they try to make you an enemy and try to make you appear as if you are no longer impartial.
And why do you care about that if you're on the right side of the law?
Well, if we are on the right side of the law, we shouldn't really care much about it.
Right, so the questions shouldn't arise.
Well, no, except for the fact, Bongani, that the public may actually care about it, and some judges may actually, I don't know, find that it may drag for too long. I think that.
But with respect, Advocate, I was specific in my framing of the question. I said, if you're on the right side of the law, it shouldn't matter what people say about you. It shouldn't matter what mud is slung your way. If you're on the right side of the law, you must do your job, surely.
Yes, but we have. Yes, you're absolutely right. But if you look at the South African Human Rights,
so what are you caving in to their mudslinging?
No, we are not caving in. Can you just give me a chance, Mr. Bingwa? We are given two options: one, to investigate, or to take the matter to court. And the decision, in our independence, we are free to decide whether we're taking the matter to court, as we have done with some of the cases, or we investigate and give a finding. We have done this all the time. So it can't be that we are caving in. We have decided to go this route.
They're saying you lack an appreciation of the country's history. They're saying this was contextual, that this wasn't out of nowhere, that everything that they say is in response to provocation.
Well, we don't buy that. We understand our history. We are now in a democracy. We have talked about the problems of the past, and we've chosen a path as South Africa, and a path that chooses democracy and peace and doesn't espouse violence. You know, they are still stuck in the past, where they feel that things have to be sorted out through violence.
Should the Human Rights Commission have more teeth?
Come again?
Should the Human Rights Commission have more teeth?
The Human Rights Commission should have two things. One, more teeth, and as the Paris Principles say, it should have more resources in order to be able to deal with some of these issues. Yes, it absolutely needs to have more teeth. We do not have teeth because there's still an argument about the findings that we make. If we make recommendations, we're still faced with a lot of argument but this is merely a recommendation. It is not binding. And going to court actually also protects us from that, because then the equality court decisions are binding. There will be no argument after that whether they are binding or not. But with us, we may have other litigation to go to court to try and prove that our decisions are binding. We've met this hurdle in Mpumalanga last year.
We're talking in the context of what we've just discussed, but also, of course, the Chairperson Commission report looking at racism and other issues at Stellenbosch University. More broadly, what are we getting wrong as a society that we're still here all these years since the start of our democracy?
Well, what we got wrong, in my view, this is not the Commission's view, in my view, what we got wrong was to weaken the agencies that do law enforcement. And, we allowed corruption to take over, so that in the eyes of the members of the public, breaking the law was normal. And so people got away with lots of wrong things. And now it has become a culture in the country that people do not obey the law. And the law is what they say is the law. It's not what is is passed by Parliament.
I put it to you, though, Advocate, that weak responses to the breaking of the law, passing the buck, surely what you should do within the ambit of the law, within what you're mandated to do, when you make a finding like this, you've got to be as tough as you possibly can. Should it go to the courts, then fine, so be it. But as far as you, as the Human Rights Commission, you should be as tough on this kind of thing as you possibly can. Otherwise, we're going to be back here.
Absolutely.
But that's not what you're doing.
No, it's because we don't have the power to what you call to issue tough decisions or let's say binding decisions. You know, many of our decisions have been ignored. It's not that we do not want to issue tough decisions. We have issued them before. You know, sometimes they don't get what called give us the power, you know, to issue binding decisions. Then we will do that, because if we do that, then they can be enforced. It's pointless to issue tough decisions that cannot be enforced.
I suspect the polite letter will not scare the likes of Julius Malema. Appreciate your time, Advocate Bongani Majola, the chairperson there.
We were not scaring them, sir. We were just giving them an opportunity, because our trajectory is to go to court.
No, that's quite clear. It's quite clear you weren't scaring them. Appreciate your time. Advocate Bongani Majola, chairperson of the Human Rights Commission.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.